field lies silent now. Where once 1,000 voices roared in defiance, only the wind remains, whispering across the bodies of the fallen. The dust of trampled earth hangs in the air, settling slowly over bronze, leather, and lifeless hands, still clutching their swords. Moments ago, this was chaos. A storm of shields and steel, of men locked so tightly in combat, they could feel the heartbeat of their enemy. But turtles burn out quickly, and the silence that follows is heavier than the clash that came before. Somewhere in that silence, a man breathes. Shallow, ragged, stubborn. He's as a Roman soldier, or what remains of one. His helmet sits askew, the cheek guard bent from the blow that sent him to the ground. A deep gash in his side stains the white wool beneath his armor, each heartbeat pushing more of his strength into the soil. He stares upward, blinking against the pale sky. The sound of war is gone, but its echo is in his bones, in the ringing in his ears, in the dull throb that spreads from his wound, in the distant cries of others scattered across the ground. He tries to move, but his body has become a weight he cannot lift. The shield arm, once steady enough to hold back a wall of men, now trembles from the effort of reaching for air. Around him, the victors search. Their steps are careful, deliberate, eyes scanning, ears straining for the smallest sound. An officer's voice cuts across the field, calling for the medici. Somewhere, a leather satchel clinks with the sound of tools that will decide who walks away from this field and who is left to the gods. He has no way of knowing if they will reach him in time. The warmth leaving his body tells him they may not. Still, a shadow falls across him. Two figures kneeling, pressing cloth to his wound, muttering to keep him away. Their hands are quick, their movements unshaken by the sight of torn flesh. In the Roman army, this is a familiar ritual. They cannot stay here long. Night will bring scavengers, both beast and man, and the living must be moved behind the lines. He is lifted, slowly, carefully, each step jarring the injury, each breath burning like fire. But in this moment, he fights the only battle that matters, the one between his heartbeat and the darkness that waits to claim. The battle is over, yet for him, it has only just begun. They bring him through the remnants of the Roman camp, past the battered standards and the weary men slumped in silence. Here the war smells different, not of burning pitch and churned mud, but of blood, boiled water, and bitter herb. The Valetudinarium, Rome's military hospital, is no grand marble hall. It is a long, low structure of timber and canvas, built for speed, not beauty. Inside, the air is thick with the heat of bodies, and the sharp sting of wine vinegar poured liberally over wounds to cleanse them. He is laid on a wooden table. The world spins, and shapes move above him. Faces half hidden in shadow, hands glinting with bronze instruments. These are the medici, the army's surgeons. They are not priests of healing, but craftsmen of survival, trained in the grim art of holding life in place until the body can take over. One kneels beside him, peeling away the blood-soaked tunic. Another examines the wound, a deep slice just below the ribs. No hesitation. The order is given. The bleeding must be stopped before he drifts too far. A cautery iron is heated in the brazier. Its hiss is the only warning before it meets flesh. His body arches, a raw cry tearing from his throat, but the hands hold him steady. Pain is not an enemy here. It is a sign that the mind is still anchored to the living. The medici work quickly. Cloth soaked in vinegar is packed into the cut. A poultice of honey and crushed plants is pressed over it. Honey, the Romans know, will keep the rot at bay. A band of clean linen is wrapped tightly around his middle, binding the wound like the walls of a fort around a garrison. All the while, a soldier at his side speaks to him. Not soothing words, but sharp ones. Reminders of home, of comrades, of the oath they swore. In the Roman mind, a wounded man must be kept fighting, even against himself. When it is done, they lift him again, this time to a low cot where the others lie. Some groan softly. Untold. Others stare blankly at the canvas roof above. The work of the Medici continues without pause, for each man here is another battle to be won. And in its place, there is no glory, only the relentless, disciplined struggle to drag men back from the brink before death claims them. The days that follow are a blur of pain and stillness. Time in the Valetudinarium moves differently, marked not by the sun's passage, but by the slow change in the body's strength. Morning begins with the footsteps of the Medici, the rustle of linen, the sharp scent of herbs crushed fresh for the day's treatments. For the wounded soldier, each breath is a small battle. The wound beneath his ribs pulls with every movement, sending lances of pain through his side. But still, he is made to sit up, to move, to eat. Rome does not believe in leaving the injured to wither. Discipline is the lifeline here. The diet is simple, designed not for pleasure, but for rebuilding. Barley gruel, boiled vegetables, strips of meat simmered until soft. One-night wine, watered down to keep the blood warm and the spirits from sinking. The Medici know that a soldier's mind is as fragile as his body. Too much stillness can kill a man long before the wound does. Every few days, the bandages are changed. The process is brutal in its necessity. The linen stripped away, the wound washed with vinegar, the poultice replaced. The sting of it forces his teeth to clench, sweat beading on his brow. Yet this ritual is the thin wall that keeps fever and rot at bay. Around him, the sounds of recovery are constant. Some men whisper of battles past, others of families far away. A few cry out in the night, caught in dreams they cannot escape. The Valetudinarium is both a sanctuary and a prison. No man leaves until the body is fit enough to carry armor again, or until it is clear that he never will. Weeks pass. The wound closes, leaving a scar like a red crescent across his side. The strength in his arms returns slowly, rebuilt through simple tasks. Lifting a water jar, walking the perimeter of the camp, tightening the straps of a shield. His comrades encourage him, for in Rome's legions, the survival of one man is the survival of the whole. But recovery is never certain. Many leave here with a limp, a missing hand, or a lung that will never again draw a full breath. Rome provides pensions to those who cannot return to the line, yet every soldier knows the truth. The battlefield is where their hearts still live. One morning, the medicus examines him for the last time. The verdict is quiet but firm. He may fight again if the gods will it. Armor is brought to him heavier than he remembers, yet familiar in his hands. The scar will remain, a silent mark of the day he fought 2 battles, one with the enemy, and one with the shadow of death itself. And as he steps from the dim air of the Valetudinarium into the bright light of the parade ground, he knows that victory is not always taken with the sword. Sometimes it is stolen back, breath by breath, from the edge of the grave. Not every man walks out of the Valetudinarium. His hands shielded, but Alas, for some, the scar is not the only reminder of the battle. A leg that will never bend, an arm that cannot lift a shield, a lung that fights for air even at rest. These men will never again stand shoulder to shoulder in the line, will never feel the shudder of an enemy's charge ripple through the shield wall. Rome has a name for them, missio causaria, a discharge for reason of injury. It is both a mercy and a sentence. The day comes quietly. There is no ceremony, no speeches, no crowd. A centurion delivers the verdict, and a scribe records it in the rolls. The soldier is given what the Republic, or later the Empire, deems his due, a small pension, perhaps a grant of land if fortune smiles, or a modest sum of coin. It is enough to survive, though rarely enough to forget. From the hospital he leaves not through the gate of the marching column, but alone, his armor left behind for another man to wear. The weight on his shoulders is lighter now, but it is a hollow kind of lightness. His body belongs to peace, yet his mind is still chained to war. Some return to their families, to farms and fields, far from the clamor of the legions. Others drift to Rome itself, where the city's noise masks the quiet ache in their bones. A few become watchmen, merchants or laborers, using what strength remains to earn their bread. But in the shadow of every life after the legions, there is the memory of brothers left on the field, of orders shouted through the dust, of the moment the world narrowed to the point of a blade. And yet Rome does not wholly forget her wounded. The coloniae, settlements for veterans, offer a place among others who bear the same scars. Here, tales of past campaigns are traded like coin, and the bond of the legion lives on, even in men who will never again march under its eagles. But the truth is unspoken, understood by all who have worn the armor. Leaving the battlefield does not end the war, simply moves it inside, into the quiet of the night, the ache of an old wound when winter comes, the way the heart still quickens at the sound of marching feet. For the severely wounded Roman soldier, survival is its own kind of victory. Yet it is also a reminder the price of Rome's triumphs was not paid only in the lives that ended on the field, but in the lives that were forever changed by it. Centuries from now, the battlefield where he fell will be nothing more than quiet earth, its scars hidden beneath grass and wildflowers. The names of the dead will be lost to time, their deeds remembered only in the faded lines of old chronicles. Yet somewhere, in a forgotten corner of a museum, a fragment of armor will rest behind glass. A dent in the bronze, a crack in the iron. It will tell no story aloud, but for those who know, it speaks volumes of a day when a man stood in the line, took the blow meant for another, and did not yield. Rome's history is written in victories, in emperors and conquests. But beneath that shining record lies another truth. The empire was built as much on the courage of the wounded as on the strength of the unbroken. Every scar carried home was a silent testimony to the price of its borders, the cautery of its name. In the city's triumphal parades, the eagles were lifted high, and the crowds roared for the generals. But somewhere in that crowd stood men like him, leaning on a cane, a sleeve pinned empty at the shoulder, a limp that could not be hidden. They watched the legions pass, and knew what it cost to march in that column. For the wounded soldier, life went on, but it was never the same. He bore his scars quietly, not as a mark of shame, but as proof that he had stood in the storm and returned, however changed. And so, in the grand arc of Rome's history, his name may be forgotten, but his survival, the stubborn will to keep breathing when the gods themselves seem to turn away, that is woven into the very fabric of the empire. The field falls silent once more. The wind moves over it, carrying away the last whispers of the battle. Somewhere, the faint echo of marching feet fades into the horizon, and with it the memory of those who fought not just to win, but to live. The dust has settled. The clash of iron has faded into a distant echo. Yes. Among the fallen, a single figure stirs, his armor dented, his lifeblood seeping into the earth. This is the beginning of a different battle, not for glory, not for conquest, but for survival.